Hello, everybody. Welcome to Townsend 505. My name's Nick. Welcome to the channel if you're new, or welcome back if you are a lovely subscriber slash viewer. Um, Joining me yet again, episode 15 on our Black Sabbath series is Bryer from Breyer's Music Showcase. Um, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, doing all right. Still, well, it's not quite evening yet over here in San Diego, but it's getting there. It's 6:30 almost.
Oh yeah, they always forget the 3 hour difference.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it's like an hour difference. So
Mm-hmm.
over in Kansas and Texas, it's like 8 o'clock, and
Yeah.
where Jacob is, it's 9 o'clock. So
Mm-hmm.
you're the only one. You're like 3 hours behind. Well, like 3 hours behind me and 2 hours behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're reviewing there. I don't know if it's just. I don't know if we say if the name's TYR or if it's tier.
Yeah. Most people say tier.
Okay. You have anything you want to say before we begin?
Okay. So we've entered the 90s now for Black Sabbath, which is funny because that means it's been roughly 20 years since their debut, and yeah, a lot has happened in that 20 years. So basically, this is the follow up to Headless Cross. And the thing about that album is that when Tony Martin joined the band, he always assumed Black Sabbath when it comes to lyrics is that he always assumed that it was always about Satan, the devil, occult stuff, that sort of thing. But he always wanted to write other things, and so he went up to Tony Iommi and he said, like, hey, do we do we can we just write about anything we want? And then Tony responded and saying, like, no, you can write anything you want. I'm not too picky. And so with that, Tony decided to go ahead and write something different. So it's kind of a little departure from the last album in a sense, because lyrically, this album kind of deals more on the lines of Norse mythology, hence why it's called Tyr. Um, and Tyr is kind of supposed to be it's supposed to be like the Norse god of single combat and heroic glory, I and if I'm correct, he is the son of Odin. So that's why it's named that. And they use for the album cover they use different runes to spell it out. Of course, what's ironic is that the what's supposed to be the Y here, of
Mm-hmm.
course, in the classic language that that they got this from is actually supposed to be X or Z, so it has nothing to do with Y, but it just looked cool, so they kept it. Um, but yeah, besides that, it's kind of this was like I said in the last video that Headless Cross did decent. Again, not really that not big numbers or anything, but this album, yeah, kind of got a mixed reception when it came out. Wasn't as liked as the last album, um, and yeah, sale wise, also didn't do that well at all. Like I'd say the '90s was kind of their low point in terms of sales. Um, but they did tour this album. They mainly toured the UK and Europe because it sold so poorly in the US. It's actually the first time they actually didn't tour in America. They only stuck with Europe. Um, but besides that, on the tour, they actually had a couple guest appearances. I think Ian Gillan guest at one show, Brian May guested on one show, even Geezer Butler made an appearance during the tour, which is kind of interesting. And then lastly, I'll mention is that it got to 24 in the UK, so not too bad, but it didn't chart in the US, so there's that. So yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting album because I think we talked a little bit beforehand. We messaged each other, I and I, it is. I do think it's a little bit of a step down from the last album, but overall, I still think it's a solid album. I think there's still some good songs, and you know, the band still sounds pretty good. I mean, you still have, I think it's pretty much the same lineup as the last album. The only
Mm-hmm.
difference is the bass player. Um, on Headless Cross, they had Lawrence Cottle. On this one, you have Neil Murray on bass, who was in Whitesnake previously. But other than that, it's pretty much the same lineup. Besides that, but yeah, overall, I'm kind of looking forward to talking about this album a little bit.
Cool. Before we do it, before maybe Scott might leave, Norse mythology. So Black Sabbath became Led Zeppelin.
Sorta.
Yeah, I don't think they do it as well as Led Zeppelin, but they
Mm,
do they do a good job of doing it.
yeah.
Um, my brief thoughts on the album. I think it's a step down from the previous albums. Um, like most of the albums before it were a little better. Um, let's. I wanna let's get right into the tracks though. Opening track, Anno Mundi.
Yeah. Right. So Anno Monday. And basically what that's supposed to translate, it's supposed to be Latin for year after creation. And I think in Hebrew it means something else. It means to the creation of the world. So right off the bat, kind of setting the tone for what they're trying to do here. Um, and and I will say it again. So far they've pretty much every album they've started pretty strong. They have always good have a good opening song, and this is like another good This is another really good one. I do like the slow kind of guitar melody in the beginning, and Tony Martin still sounds really great here. Like he's when he's singing a lot lower. But then when the riff comes in, like that's a great guitar riff. I really enjoyed the sound of it. Very heavy, and again, Cozy Powell's on drums, and he's still killing it here. And again, they're just playing around with the dynamics here. And yeah, I think it's a pretty strong way to open the album.
I agree. It's a really strong way to open up the album. Um, I really like 3 out of the 9 tracks on this album, and this is one of the 3. Um, really solid opener. There's a song title that if you're gonna still watch this guy, you're gonna. I want you to stay on here for a little longer because there's a certain song name that will intrigue you. Um, not this next song, but the next song is the Lawmaker.
Lawmaker. All right, so again, this one's a much more faster paced track. Um, Another pretty solid one, I think. Again, Cozy's drumming still very top notch here. Um, Let me see. I do like the keyboards. I mean, you still have Jeff Nichols on keyboards, and again, still adding some nice texture throughout this one. And there's a really good guitar solo in here. I'd say my only, guess, minor complaint when I hear this album, I do think Tony's vocals is a little bit too low. I feel like the music kind of overpowers him at certain points, which is kind of surprising because Tony has a very powerful voice, but for some reason they kind of mixed him down for this one, which is kind of, I don't know, kind of weird. So this one didn't quite make my top 5, but it's still a pretty solid song. I still like it.
It's an okay song. I'm gonna say it. 3 out of the 9 songs are great. And then I'd say like most of the other tracks are just good to okay. Um, this is an okay song though. It's not bad, but it's not like amazing either. But I like it. It's okay. The next track on the album, Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. Okay, so I do like the intro. Again, a nice keyboard guitar riff. I do like the feel of it. Um, Good, more heavier track. I do like the chorus too. I do like when they are with the chant out Jerusalem. I do like that quite a bit. And I mean, and then Tony Martin's vocals are kind of back full form again. I don't know. Again, I don't know what happened on the last song, but here he sounds a lot better here. Um, Again, some nice drumming throughout. Yeah, don't much. I really don't have much to say about it, and that's kind of like my thing about the album. It does have a sort of not generic sound, but it definitely doesn't really. A lot of songs, and I kind of see what you're saying. The songs don't really stand out
Hmm.
in your face or anything. I mean, they're solid, but again, it's just kind of there. It's just solid, music here. It's just they're not trying to change anything, not trying to have a statement or anything. It's just just good guitar music.
Yeah. I'm. This is an okay song again. I don't have anything else to say. You kind of summed it up pretty well. It's an okay song. Um, Here's the title that'll get you, Scott. The next song on the album, "The Sabbath Stones."
Oh man, the
Interesting
Sabbath
title, right?
Stone.
It's like a mixture between
Yeah,
two band names.
a
The
little bit.
Sabbath.
Yeah, right. So yeah, this is the longest song on the album, and this is supposed to be like the epic on here. Um, and it has a pretty cool intro. It has like start stop sort of thing where they play a riff and then they stop, and then Tony will sing a line before it brings it back in. Um, and it just goes like that for a little bit, and then you have the main guitar riff, which I think is pretty good. Um, and it kind of has going back to that doomy sort of sound again, kind of sounding like something they would do on the debut almost. Um, just a very kind of a slower type of track, just one you're kind of just in for the groove mainly. And I do like the switch up here. They do play with dynamics here. They have acoustic guitar. There's some keyboards, and there's even a couple moments where Neil Murray was kind of stood out a little bit on bass. And that's the other thing I will say. Um, I'd say during this period of Black Sabbath, the bass was kind of not really there. I mean, sometimes you'll hear it, but it's kind of just, just kind of filling the space. I mean, a lot of these bass players we've had, like a lot of these bass players we've had, just kind of been, just keeping it straightforward, nothing crazy. I mean, you have Geezer Butler, who is like so upfront, like you can always pick out his bass playing. But all these bass players after him, yeah, they do a solid job. But again, nothing too crazy. Um, and but anyway, back to the song. And again, I do like Tony's vocals here, and it does pick up towards the end. It has a pretty fast paced conclusion, which I dig. But yeah, so I think I enjoy the song. This was kind of a highlight for me.
Um, yeah, we're gonna have to. I kind of disagree with you on this. Is another good. It's good. It's okay. I thought it was fine. It's definitely out of all the big ones we got from the previous albums, especially the last album with that one epic with Brian May on the guitar. That's like, well, it's my favorite Black Sabbath song, so it's gonna be hard to beat that. But comparing it to that song, it's like much weaker compared to that song, and it's fine. It's okay. And this time I'm serious. The last time I was like trying to trick you. This one I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Um, I don't know if is this album is on vinyl. So I don't know if you could flip the record or not. I would.
Nah, probably not. This was kind of. I think it was still during the CD. I think CDs were starting to become popular again, so I don't think the record was that much of a priority.
Okay, so uh, I'd say yeah. Well, we basically reached the second half of the album for me. Um, the Battle of Tyr.
Yeah, this is again. They're kind of going back to these instrumental pieces again. Just nothing to say much about them. They're just kind of there to set the mood because this is kind of like a little medley almost we're getting here. So it's starting with this one, and it's mainly just keyboards. It has kind of like a soundtrack quality to it, like something you hear in a film score, um, which is fine. But again, there's not much to say about it. It's just again, just get just getting us ready for the next stuff. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about it.
I agree with you. It's there, bottom of my towards the bottom of my Black Sabbath list of songs. Now I reached the second song on the medley, Odin's Court.
Yeah, Odin's Court.
Odin's, yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, another one. I'm kind of like, yeah, it's okay. Against the shortest of the main songs, you do have vocals here, but it's mainly just acoustic guitar. And there's keyboards underneath, again, setting the mood. And there's little electric guitar flourishes here and there. I mean, it's okay, but again, it's just another like transitional piece before we get to the next song. So yeah, not much to say on that.
It's good. It made my top five. But that's because most of this album is just okay, slash good. I thought this was it wasn't long, so I'm like it's good. I liked it. Nothing offensive about it. I mean, none of the songs are bad on this album. I will say that. Like, none of this album is bad. So you might be hearing what I'm saying now. You probably think I'm going to give this a low score, but there's nothing bad on the album. So I'm still going to give it a nice score. Um, but that song goes into the big one, Valhalla, I think.
Valhalla. That's right.
Valhalla.
Okay, now this is a standout song for me. This was again finally getting back to more heavier songs here. It's got a great riff. I do like the riff to it, and again back to some more great drumming from Cozy. And again, the chorus is pretty good. I like how they chant out Valhalla. Just has a good feel to it. I can see this. I don't know. I haven't looked if they played this song live, but it has a sort of anthemic feel all to it, and I think it works. And again, throughout the song, again, great guitar work from Tony, of course. Yeah, this was definitely the big highlight here. Yeah, I enjoy this one.
Cool. I love this song. This is the second of the three songs I was talking about. Oh man, this is amazing. This song. I'm like, what happened to the other tracks before this? I'm like, from track 2 to track 6, it's like all good to me, but like this is like really good. I'm like, I wish the rest of the songs were this quality. I'm like, oh man. Even the first track, I think this is way better than like this is like the first like really, 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 really good song on the album. I'm like, wow, this is really good. I love this song. Um, next song on the album, Feels Good to Me.
Right. So this was the first single on here, and I will say it's not the strongest single to start with for this album because it's probably the biggest outlier on here.
I agree. What the heck?
Yeah, yeah. And even the band themselves were like, "Really? Why is the record label using this song?" And yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, it's probably the closest ballad on here, and normally that'll be up my alley. But for some reason, this one I'm kind of mixed on. It's got some nice keyboards. There's a nice guitar melody in the beginning. And solid drum intro from Cozy, and chorus is okay. It does get heavier in spots, but I think the big problem is that it's a bit too slow for a ballad. You want it to be I mean, a ballad is kind of slow sometimes, but usually there's like a really good hook or a nice chord progression that hooks you in, that gets you in the feels, shall we say? This one doesn't really do that for me, which is ironic because the title is called "Feels Good to Me," but I'm kind of lukewarm on it personally. So there it is.
Wow. I'm surprised you agree with me on this. I think it's
Mhm.
okay as well. I think it's an okay song
Mm,
too. Like I
yeah.
was afraid you'd be like, I'm a sucker for ballads. This is the best song on the album.
Yeah, even I have standards when it comes to ballads, so there's that.
I would have felt bad
Mhm.
saying that. I mean, my thing. I'm a sucker for Baroque songs, and my
Mm.
exception is Ruby Tuesday by the Rolling Stones. So
Yeah.
I have my exceptions too. Um, yeah, it's another okay song. Um, it's nothing really more to add. It's a pretty. This is a short review because it's an okay album. It's not bad. If it's a
Yeah.
bad album, we have a lot to talk about with how bad it is. With a great album, we have a lot to talk about it when it's good. This is a short review because it's okay. Like nothing really to add. We got the last track on the album, Heaven in Black.
All right. I think this is a pretty solid closing track. I like this one quite a bit. I like the drum intro in the beginning and the nice good riff, and it's got a nice driving. It's a good driving rhythm too. That I do like. I do enjoy a good rhythm where it's just kind of keeps moving throughout. And I like the chorus too. I think it's pretty catchy. And Tony Martin has a nice, more gritty approach, which I dig. Um, and yeah, so some nice guitar playing as well. Yeah, definitely a pretty solid album closer. Not one of their strongest album closers by a long shot, but I think it's a decent way to go out for this album.
I think this is amazing. I think this is a great closer. Um, really solid way to close out the album after a very mediocre ballad.
Mhm. Yeah.
What is your top five?
All right, so my top five. So number 5, I have the Sabbath Stones. Number 4, Heaven in Black. Number 3, Jerusalem. Number 2, Valhalla. And number 1, Anu Mundi.
Mhm. And I feel like your dishonorable is kind of obvious.
Yeah, it's going to be Battle of Tier.
Yeah, that's mine too. My number five, Odin's Court. Odin's Court. I said Odin again. Odin's Court. Number four, The Lawmaker. Number three, uh, Anna Mundi. Number two, Valhalla. Number one, Heaven in Black.
All right.
Um, and like I said, my dishonorable is that one song.
Yeah.
What's your score on this album?
Okay. So again, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's a step down from the last one because really love Headless Cross. I think that's a really good album. But then you get to this one, it's still fine. I mean, still some solid songs here. There's nothing inherently bad about it, but it's just kind of, again, I kind of talked about it before, but again, it's just nice, solid heavy metal music. It's nothing crazy, nothing amazing about it. If you just want to hear some good hard, some solid hard heavy metal here, then this is for you. Um, but overall, comparatively, this one does kind of rank, not kind of somewhere near the bottom here. Um, but overall, but like I said, it's not bad. I do dig it, but it's not one I will go back to too often. So 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a step down from the previous albums, I should say. Every album up until then were at least 9 out of 10, but I'm dropping it down to 8.5 out of 10. Besides those three big songs on there, there's like most of it's just okay to just mediocre. None of it's bad though. None of it's like offensively bad. Like I'll listen to the album every once in a while, but yeah, this is a disappointment compared to the other albums that came before it, especially the previous album, Headless Cross. That album's way better. Check that one out if you are a upcoming Tony Martin Black Sabbath listener. Uh, Stay tuned next week on Saturday where me and Bryer go over the next Black Sabbath album, which isn't with Tony Martin. Um, yeah, it's weird. It's a weird one because Tony
Yeah,
Martin, not Tony Martin isn't on the next album. It's
yeah,
Dio. Dio comes
yeah.
on
We
the
have
next
the
album.
return of Ronnie James Dio, and I'll go into that whole history because it's pretty interesting how that happened.
Yeah, it's called Dehumanizer. That's the 16th album, which it's interesting. It's interesting how, and it's weird too. Is yeah, that one right there. It's you think Tony Martin would be with them again, but I'll let Black let's just say I'll let Black Sabbath tell you that, but as if Bryer is part of Black Sabbath.
I mean,
I'll
I'm
let
kind
I'll
of
let
wearing
Bryer
black.
go over the history of that when we next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. To answer Scott's question, if you and Bryer want to talk, you can. I'll add you on here, but I got to go to bed after this. So I'll let you guys
Yeah,
hang out.
and I do have some schoolwork I have to do, so I gotta take care of that.
Okay, so me and Bryer will hop off of here after. Um, Thank you, Scott, for watching. I'm surprised you watched this. I didn't think you were going to want to watch a Black Sabbath review. You probably came on to see if we were going to chat at the end, but thank you for watching anyway. Thank you for whoever's going to watch the replay. I'm pretty sure maybe Jacob might watch it. He watched the last review,
Oh,
but
we did he?
thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Yeah.